Hey there, Frank Sardella here, host of Will Work for Patients and Road Rants with Frank Sardella, chiropractic marketing and inspirational podcasts that are online right now and coming at you. And if you're not listening, you must be insane, is the only thing I can say, because you're turning down free advice, inspiration, tips from me and my guests. So you name it, there are all kinds of things to be gained from being a listener. So if you're not a listener already, please go to willworkforpatients.com to tune in. What you're looking at now is a new vlog that I am doing called Off the Air. And this is the premiere episode of Off the Air. I want to welcome you. Off the Air is going to feature some talk, some behind-the-scenes talk on some of the episodes that we've done, some of the things we've talked about, some follow-up thoughts. Oftentimes, after I do an episode, I think of things, kind of when you were in an argument with somebody and about 2 hours after the argument, you think of a real zinger that you should have said that would have totally won the argument. Well, this is similar to that, except I'm not trying to win an argument with you. But every once in a while, you have thoughts and ideas after the episode. One of the things you should know, and this is something you could take as a piece of advice. This is something I wouldn't obviously talk about on the air during the podcast, but in putting together my podcast, I am one of my biggest listeners. I am one of the foremost listeners of my own shows. I listen to it often. Every episode that I publish, I listen to at least 5 or 6 times minimum. And the reason is because I like to get the audience perspective and the audience viewpoint, but also when I do that, I learn a lot about what I know and a lot about what is helpful, what's a good point, especially like with my guests and some of the things that they've said and very intriguing things that come up. So it's very important for us to be able to reflect back on what we've said so that we can guide it toward where it needs to go from there. And I think you'll find that very true. If you write a blog online or you write a column in your local newspaper, or even if you write a newsletter every month, you may find that you want to read that back because it will give you ideas and it will give you sort of guidance and a direction on where to go from there. And that's some good, solid advice. Again, I apply that in my podcasts, in my blog writing. Everything that I produce, every video I produce, I watch it back several times. Every podcast episode that I publish, I listen to it several times. Every article I write, I read it several times. Even every book I write, I read it over and over repeatedly. Give it a try. You will find that you will have a greatly improved sort of vocabulary, but not necessarily in a traditional sense. A vocabulary in a sense of like really tapping into your knowledge and making it translatable to people. Because that's another thing, when you listen to yourself, you start to see how you're being perceived and you can adjust it accordingly. Maybe people don't agree with the way you're being perceived, and maybe you need to shift that a little bit just to get them to hear your message. So I want to point that out to you as well. Now, recently on Will Work for Patients, we've had some pretty killer guests on there. There's an entrepreneur I just had named Maggie Jones in episode 44, and you need to definitely check that one out. That episode is called Be Awesome, Do Awesome, and Get Awesome. And this little girl, let me tell you, has gone ahead on the entrepreneurial journey of a lifetime, and you should definitely check out what she has to say. In episode 39, Dr. Jerry Dreesen, he is a West Coast chiropractor. The title of his episode was actually a quote he gave in the episode. It's called, "When you're on fire, people will come to watch you burn." And it's very much a philosophy that he lives by in his practice. And one of the intriguing things about that I want to point out is that he indicated in that episode that he makes sure that every square inch of his practice produces not only production, but income, return on investment. Every square foot of his practice is actually producing. So there's a lot of gems in there. Look up a gentleman named P. Christopher Music and an episode on getting out of debt that we did recently. There are all kinds of episodes recently that have particular things that you could learn about that will greatly benefit you in practice right now. Now, on Road Rants, there are a couple of episodes I want you to pay attention to. Now, first of all, to subscribe to Road Rants, if you go to willworkforpatients.com and you click on subscribe, you will find all the instructions on how to subscribe to that show. But if you find the instructions for your specific device, just apply them as is, but when you go to search for the show title, type in Road Rants with Frank Sardella, and you will find that show, and you can also subscribe. But there's a couple episodes I'd like you to pay particular close attention to. One of them is called Don't Flatter Yourself, okay? Talk about a rant that I went on, but that one is really all about your sort of idea that you're the center of somebody's world, their universe, their life. Okay? How do I mean that? I don't mean you're an arrogant son of a gun, but what I do mean is that when you get really super upset when you do a great job with somebody, maybe screening them or convincing them to come see you, and then they blow off their appointment and they don't come in, and you get very, very offended by it. And part of that is this idea that you should have been the center of their world. And I really get into a lot of depth in that episode. But going forward, you can really apply that, because if you keep that in mind, you'll know how much follow-up it takes. And that's something maybe that I didn't say in that episode that I think that you should really take away from that. So there's another thing in this new vlog that you can take away that you might not have gotten in the episode. So I want you to listen to Don't Flatter Yourself. Now, it's very simple. Once you get subscribed, you, especially if you're an iPhone user, but Android, you can download a podcasting app. There's one called Beyond Pod that I absolutely love. That's a free app. But here in my iPhone, you could see the podcasting app icon right here, and that's what it looks like. And if you tap it and go in, and you'll see all the shows that you're subscribed to here. I'm going to just go to Road Rants with Frank Sardella, and you'll see the show and all the episodes. Now, the most recent episode that I did is something I want you to pay particular close attention to. You'll see episode 2 here, Don't Flatter Yourself, right? But episode 4 here, I just put up this weekend, and that's one I want you to pay particular close attention to. When booking a new patient is the wrong thing to do, don't do it. And there's a lot in that, okay? In that episode, I go into detail on just why that the most important skill is not to learn how to close an appointment at a screening, but the exact opposite. It's to learn the power of not booking the screening, despite the worst temptations, not booking the appointment at the screening, despite your worst temptation to do so. Now, I don't mean stop booking appointments at screenings. When people are cooked, you want them booked. But if they're not cooked, they can't be booked. And that is the superpower that you need to grab a hold of and embrace. Because the whole point of this episode is that when people are forced to book that appointment, when you haven't quite cooked them on the idea of why they should fulfill that appointment, then not only will they not show, but they will never show again. So if you listen to that episode, you're going to get a good 17-minute lesson on that. But I really wanted to make that point to you, because how you can apply it going forward is to really figure out 2 things. And this is what I'm going to leave you with in today's vlog installment of Off the Air. The way to apply that going forward is to not only not book appointments and make recommendations not to follow up and see you right at this moment with some people, but also to have planned out some future contacts for those people. So in other words, you can have an entire sequence of events that you create. So if you're not going to book them at the screening, meaning you decide you're not going to book them, not them, you need to decide before they tell you they don't want to come in that they shouldn't come in, and recommend that they should wait. Then make a recommendation on how long they should wait before they decide to call you, and tell them that they should call you. Whether you think they're going to or not doesn't matter. Then, before even going into that screening, you should have a sequence planned for your non-appointments. So, are your follow-up calls this? Hi, I'm calling. I know we met you at the screening. You didn't book an appointment. I'd like to give you another option to book the appointment. Now, I know you don't say it that way, but that's essentially what you're doing. If you're calling them repeatedly and you say, but Frank, I've called them 20 times. I don't know what else to do. Well, are you calling them 20 times and offering the same thing that they said no to in the first place? Well, of course it's not going to work. You need more things. Maybe a talk in your office, a PAD you're going to have, right? Patient Appreciation Day. Maybe you do dinner talks. Maybe you're doing a talk publicly at the local library. Maybe your next screening is at the home show next week. Invite them to come see you there. There are a lot of things that you could do. You can get them onto your mailing list. There are many, many ways that you can make meaningful contact to people. So after listening to Road Rants 4, what I want you to do is sit down, plan out that sequence, and then practice going to the screening. And don't practice for a change, booking appointments. Practice not booking them. Practice turning people away from booking the appointment just now. Not totally, but just now. You know what? I don't recommend you come and see me right now, but here's what I do recommend. And give a follow-up recommendation, because the more chances you have to talk to them, the more conversation you can continue with them, a continuous conversation through multiple contacts, and the less you try to strong-arm them into the appointment, the more solid you're going to make that person. And a point I did make in the episode is that when you don't strong-arm them and you do continually and repeatedly communicate with them, even if they don't realize they ever need you, someday something will happen where they do, and you'll be the first person they thought of because you've been so nice and so helpful to them. And I will tell you, it may take you a little while to get it rolling, but it will snowball. So that's my advice to you. I hope you like this new vlog. I'm really enjoying the idea of doing it. Every time I'm doing a podcast or another spot, I will be recording an installment of this vlog off the air, and we're going to get behind the scenes, and we're going to talk about all the mechanics of the things you're not hearing on the air. And it's all geared toward helping you expand that practice, expand into your community, and expand your profession. Thanks for listening. Go to willworkforpatients.com. Click on the subscribe tab and find the best way and the best device that you'd like to subscribe with. Follow the instructions and start listening, enjoying, and winning in practice. That's what I wish for you. And I'll see you on the air.